Welcome back. I'm Angel. Today we're continuing with the name Jim Carrey. If you're new here, let me give you a quick bit of context. Jim Carrey is a Canadian-American actor who shot to fame in the 1990s with films like Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, becoming one of the highest-paid comedic actors in Hollywood. With his rubbery face and wildly expressive features, he could twist himself into just about any expression. Almost anyone who's seen his movies remembers that face. November 2014. Jim Carrey sits down on Jimmy Kimmel Live, makes a gesture, both hands framing his face, covering his eyes. Kimmel asks, "Is that a gang sign?"
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what...
He says, "I'm here tonight to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies." Then his phone rings. He stops. That subject never came back. Today's episode starts with that phone call. He was there to promote Dumb and Dumber 2. Within 2 minutes, he made that gesture. He said the gesture is called the all-mocking tongue, a symbol used by people in entertainment. He said talk show hosts, television actors, sitcom stars have all been hired by the government to distract you, to make you laugh, to keep you docile so you don't know what's really going on. One thing worth noticing, he said entertainment industry people are hired to distract you and make you laugh. And he himself broke into America by making people laugh on a television comedy show called In Living Color. The system he was describing, he walked out of it. That makes those words heavier. He was mid-sentence, building towards something. His phone rang. He stopped. Just like that, he stopped. Earlier that same year, May 2014, 6 months before the Kimmel appearance, Jim Carrey gave a commencement address at Maharishi University. The tone is completely different. No jokes, no gestures, no interrupted sentences. He stands at a podium and says,
"You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here."
Everyone received that as philosophy. Wisdom from a man who had seen through fame. I heard something else. Because when you place that sentence next to the Kimmel clip, you start to hear a different frequency. A person who has accepted they cannot change their situation sounds exactly like a person who has learned to be present because the future is no longer available to them. Equanimity and captivity produce the same words. In the same speech, he said this,
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job.
People thought he was telling a motivational story. But if you know Jim Carrey's childhood, his father laid off, the family living out of a van, him dropping out of school at 15 to work full-time, you realize he wasn't talking about philosophy. He was talking about a system that makes people believe compliance is protection, and then discards them when they're no longer needed. He knew that from the age of 12. In the same speech, he also said, I have a saying, beware the unloved.
Children, I have a saying, beware the unloved, because they will eventually hurt themselves or me.
Everyone in that auditorium heard a life lesson. I heard a man describing his own situation. Unloved, contained, capable of hurting himself, or hurting the system holding him, if pushed to a breaking point. Cap and gown, cameras rolling, November 2014. And then, slowly, across the years that followed, he stopped appearing. Not a scandal, not a breakdown anyone could name, just a man who had been everywhere, becoming someone who was almost nowhere. In the process of researching this, one question kept stopping me. What is the most accurate description of what happened? Only one answer kept coming back. A person who was trying to tell us something ran out of places to say it. I believe there is a system. Not a theory, not a feeling. A system. With stages, with mechanisms, with an enforcement layer. The Kimmel clip is what that control mechanism looks like from the outside, in real time, in public. He names the system. The mechanism activates. He's pulled back. But before I go further, I want to say something almost everyone has missed. 1998. Jim Carrey stars in The Truman Show. The story? A man discovers that what he believed was his own life was designed by someone else. The people he thought he knew were actors. The place he thought was home was a set. He tries to escape. The following year, 1999, he stars in Man on the Moon, playing comedian Andy Kaufman, a man who merged character and person so completely that no one could tell which was real. Jim Carrey stayed in character throughout the entire production. He later said he wasn't sure, during that period, whether he was Jim Carrey at all. The character and the person can be two entirely different things. Then, in 2014, he stands at a graduation podium and says, "I don't believe a person called Jim Carrey exists." Some people say that came out of nowhere. It didn't. This is something he had been working through for at least 16 years. That context gives the card Kandis drew a much cleaner meaning. Kandis asks, "Were they keeping you alive to extract information from you?" The first card that falls, Containment Strategy. A strategy is not a reaction. It is designed before the problem exists, because the people running it already knew the problem was coming. Containment strategy means someone built the cage before they put anyone inside it. The cards that followed, Bold-Faced Lie, Rights, Kill Switch. Read those four in sequence and tell me that isn't the exact architecture of what we watched happen on Kimmel in 2014. He asserts his right to speak. He is presented publicly as a joke, bold-faced lie. He gets close to the disclosure. The kill switch activates. An iPhone rings. He picks it up. He never finishes the sentence. Two piles. All of it spread out. Archive manipulation, controlled narrative, containment strategy, kill switch, murder, rights, bold-faced lie, archetype, manipulation, war crimes, containment strategy. Let me be precise about what I'm claiming. I'm not saying these cards prove anything. I'm saying 11 cards, drawn randomly, reproduced the exact 5-stage architecture of institutional suppression, in the correct logical order. Stage 1. Change the record. Archive manipulation. Stage 2. Control the story around the record. Controlled narrative. Stage 3. Contain everyone who knows the difference. Containment strategy. Stage 4. Remove anyone who breaks containment. Kill switch. Stage 5. when every other layer fails. Murder. That sequence is not occult knowledge. It's documented in investigative journalism, in whistleblower testimony, in academic literature on authoritarian institutions. The cards named it correctly, in order, without anyone prompting them. Everything I've said so far can be argued. Patterns can be projected. The Kimmel clip can be called performance. The commencement speech can be read as philosophy. The Truman Show and Man on the Moon can be dismissed as just acting choices. Cards can be interpreted to fit any narrative. I know that. I hold that. But there is one piece of this session I don't know how to argue away. Kandis asks the spirit box, "Are you alive or dead?" The response is not simply, "dead." The response is, "not the character of a person," and then, "dead." That phrase, "not the character of a person," only carries meaning if the character and the person are already separate. If you are whole, that distinction doesn't exist. You don't need to clarify you're not your character unless that character has been operating independently of you. Now place that sentence alongside everything he said publicly. 1999, making Man on the Moon. I wasn't sure during that period whether I was Jim Carrey. 2014 commencement. I don't believe a person called Jim Carrey exists. Spirit Box, 2026. Not the character of a person? 3 points in time, 3 completely different contexts, one statement. The character and the person are not the same thing. After the spirit box session, Kandis described the image from her earlier channeling. A man in a bed, eyes open, alive. It confused her. If the spirit box says dead, why did she see him alive? Here is my interpretation. Channeling is not a live feed. There's no timestamp. What she may have accessed was the last coherent image he could transmit. The last moment before the person and the character fully separated. The spirit box runs in real time. It gives you the current status. The channeling gave her a memory. There's something I want to mention here. In 2017, Jim Carrey released a short film. The title, I Needed Color. He talked about how painting kept him alive, how pigment and canvas helped him repair himself. That film appeared 3 years after the Kimmel incident. By then, he had almost completely disappeared from public view. A person who is still living normally doesn't describe their state as, I needed color to survive. That is someone saying, without this one outlet, I might actually disappear. And then Kandis said the thing that closed the loop. Different people, same building, kept apart. That is not a metaphor. That is a physical description. A building, multiple people, separated, unable to reach each other, unable to reach us.
Let me tell you the thing about this story that I think matters most. Not the channeling, not the cards, not even the spirit box. It's the 2014 Kimmel clip. That clip is public record, timestamped, archived, reviewable by anyone. A man sat in front of cameras and said he was there to blow the lid off something. He named the system. He said whistleblower. Then a phone rang. And that subject never came back. This is exactly what a suppression system looks like when it's functioning correctly in public.
The cards confirm the architecture.
The spirit box confirmed the outcome.
The vision confirmed the location, and the first card drawn, 5 times over, rocks. 1998, he played a man trapped inside a world designed by someone else. 1999, He played a man who disappeared so completely into a role he lost himself. 2014, he said he was sick of the secrets and the lies. 2014, he said he didn't believe Jim Carrey existed. And
2014, he said he didn't believe Jim Carrey existed. 2017, he said he needed color just to stay alive. And then...
Rocks. Rocks don't move. Rocks are what you place on top of something when you need it to stay buried.
If someone is trying to reach you,
through whatever channel is still available, and the only word that comes through is rocks, that is not confusion. That is a precise, deliberate message.
Welcome to the show, and the show is you. Every sunrise painted on a dome, every neighbor smiling on cue, every exit leading back to home, every door was made to keep you. They gave you lies you thought were yours to say. They gave you love that came with a price. And when you finally try to walk away,
what is it?
The quarterly report, it's not good.
This is a problem.
Twice. Good morning, good evening, good night. The camera's been rolling your whole life. You think you know the face on the screen.
I'm scared,
but
Dad.
Is ever
I know.
What it seems.
Hold on tight to me.
Morning,
Don't let
good
go.
evening,
Never.
good night.
I've got you.
They
We're gonna
built
be
the
okay.
walls and you believe the light. The one you see is not the one you know. Welcome to the show, and the show is you. Somewhere behind a locked and rusted door, a voice says, rocks, rocks, rocks. Somewhere in the room I can't see anymore. A man says, I feel terrible. They drained him of his past words and his name. They kept the face and threw the rest away. Bold-faced lie wearing someone else's frame. Archive says he's fine, but the cards don't play. Good morning, good evening, good night. The camera's been rolling your whole life. You think you know the face on the screen, but nothing is ever what it seems. Good morning, good evening, good night. They built the walls and you believe the light. The one you see is not the one you know. Welcome to the show, and the show is you. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. They wrote those words before you learned to speak. They lit the sky before you saw the light. And everything you loved was on the lease. Murder on the call sheet, manipulation in the script. Containment strategy from the very first take. The whole world watched and never noticed the slip. The Truman you see smiling on the screen signed a contract before he knew what it means. Good morning, good evening, good night. The show must go on, that's the only right. You think you know the face, you watch it every day.
Thank you for being here, for listening, for caring about a story the world tried to silence. If this video touched something in your heart, subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss what comes next. Drop a comment, let me know you're here, because every voice matters, and yours is one of them. I'm Angel. May the light be with you.
Good morning, good evening, good night. Someone else is living in your life. The one you loved was never really free. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show they call reality.